Hello everyone, good evening and thanks for joining us. The deregulation policy continues to engage the attention and contributions of stakeholdership, eliciting the fact that that's the way to go. These inputs have been very articulate. We will share with you the perspective from Moman and more perspectives like that of GMD Mele Kyari, which is equally very discerning, espousing the awesome impact of the policy on refining investment. It's still anniversary season across the country and an auspicious time to build on the gains. NNPC's move to make public its audited financial statement is to continue unabated. And what about what seems like an anniversary gift? Auto gas facilities are already being installed in filling stations starting from Abuja, and the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources is checking these facilities out with words of commendation. Expect the details to be along these stories and more. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
It is time we took our fates in our hands by supporting the government in the complete removal of subsidy on premium motor spirit, otherwise called petrol. Subsidy on petrol benefits the few, facilitates corruption, and stifles national development. The ultimate savings will be deployed to build schools, hospitals, roads, rails, and other infrastructure. Avoid the callings of enemies of progress.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, has applauded the NNPC Retail Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, for the installation of auto gas facilities in some of its stations in Abuja, assuring Nigerians that these feats will be replicated in all the network of stations of the company across the country. Chief Silva gave this commendation while inspecting one of the pilot NNPC retail stations and liquefied petroleum gas LPG conversion centers in Abuja as part of effort to deepen auto gas penetration in the country. He said the installation of auto gas facilities will give Nigerians a credible alternative to premium motor spirits, otherwise known as petrol.
This is going to temper the problems people face from the high prices of PMS due to deregulation. This is going to be a very credible alternative, and we are very happy that this is really on course.
Chief Silva commended President Muhammadu Buhari for ushering a new gas epoch in the country, noting that all his cars as well as those of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources will run on auto gas in the weeks ahead.
Well, in the next few days, they have promised that they are going to deliver my cars. All my cars will run on gas. Yes. And of course, even the president, some of the cars in the president's fleet will be running on gas. And I'm quite happy with the reception that we are receiving all over the country. A lot of private filling stations are also going to enable auto gas in their stations. NNPC is already fitting all their filling stations with auto gas capability, and we are quite happy that this program is very much on course. This is what Nigeria needs, especially at this time.
The deregulation of the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria will increase investment in the refining business and facilitate exponential growth in the nation's refining capacity. This was the submission of the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Malam Mele Kyari, at the African Refiners Association ARA Week 2020, which held virtually with the theme Towards Cleaner Fuels for Cleaner Air. The GMD delivered a keynote address entitled Vision for the Downstream Sector and the Continent at the event, in which he advocated deeper collaboration among downstream players across the African continent to provide solutions to challenges of substandard fuels. Malam Kyari said, though the idea of price stabilization, which led to the introduction of fuel subsidy in the 1970s, was noble, it had grown into a huge financial burden on the nation's treasury over the years, necessitating its removal in March 2020. He stressed that the move will not only free up much-needed cash to fund infrastructural development, but will also eliminate market distortions, foster competition among operators, get more private sector players to build refineries in the country, and promote efficiency across the entire value chain.
We'll make sure that our refinery capability is restored by making sure the first step to restore the refineries that we have, the 4 refineries owned by the Nigerian or by the NNPC. So that when we finish a process that is ongoing through an EPC type contract, not ORB that people are aware of, we're getting the best of class EPC contractors to assist us as a matter of contracting process to take it to delivery. And at the end of the day, we'll have an O&M structure so that the management of those refineries will now be jointly done between NNPC personnel and also O&M contract. And ultimately, we'll exit the entire structure in the long term. This is advice we have given government. Government has agreed to 2 steps for us to fix the refineries and come up on board on an O&M structure, and then ultimately to transit into some form of ownership sharing.
He said increasing Africa's refining capacity as well as quality of fuel required respective refineries to implement sustainable, coordinated Pan-African solutions that would meet the target fuel specifications and thus protect the health and well-being of African nations and their citizenry.
We deliver on our refining rehab project, and we're also able to put in place the condensate refinery, and then Dangote completes. That means, within 3 years, Nigeria will be a net exporter of petroleum products. That means a lot to West Africa and to Africa. Once you can take out Nigeria from the equation of importers of petroleum, that means you will see growth in the refining sector. Many more investments will come in. Other countries that are resource blessed will also be in position to bring up refining so that we can reverse that flow of supply from Africa to the rest of the world.
He called on the refining professionals across the continent to utilize the abundant opportunities for strategic collaboration across the entire downstream value chain towards delivering value for the continent. On his part, the Executive Secretary of ARA, Engineer Anibal Kraga, applauded the NNPC for its effort to bolster the continent's refining capacity, assuring that the association, along with other stakeholders, would support the corporation to achieve its noble objectives.
I would like to thank the NNPC for supporting the ARA. At the ARA, we are promoting Africa energy security, which is maximizing African crude oil into our refineries, maximizing cleaner fuels through our storage and distribution infrastructure, and working with the African finance institutions to create an ecosystem where we are self-sufficient in meeting our projected demand in years to come.
The federal government has lauded the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, for throwing its weight behind the deregulation policy, saying that the removal of subsidy on premium motor spirit petrol was the way to go in the face of dwindling revenue accruing to the national purse. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Presilva, gave this commendation when the chairman of MOMAN, Adetunji Oyebanji, and the leadership of the association paid a business visit on him recently.
With deregulation, I believe that we can really grow the downstream sector. Even the midstream sector will grow from deregulation. So we are very clear about it, and we are happy to have partners like you.
He noted that the federal government opted for the deregulation of the downstream in order to deliver a massive provision of basic amenities for the comfort of Nigerians, urging all citizens of goodwill and forward-looking Nigerians to embrace the policy for the betterment of all.
Kerosene, which is actually, for me, the closest fuel to the rural people, has been deregulated. Diesel, which is actually the fuel used mostly by manufacturers and by heavy-duty transporters and so on, that's also deregulated. So who is being subsidized with PMS? I mean, it's only a segment of the society.
On his part, the chairman of Moman, Oyebanji, said the association was supporting the deregulation policy of the federal government because it would promote the growth and development of the nation's downstream sector.
We appeal for the labor to work with government to make sure that we can get over this very trying period. We believe that this policy is good for the economy. We believe it's good for Nigeria, and ultimately it's good for the people.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has said that it does not operate an opaque system, but a transparent and open system that enables the corporation to publish the monthly financial and operations report on several media platforms. Group Managing Director of the corporation, Malam Melekiari, made this assertion while speaking at the This Day Arise Group Global Virtual in commemoration of Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary. He stated that aside just releasing the audited financial statement for the 2018 financial year, that of 2019 was now ready and will be made public soon. He noted that the company would continue to push the frontiers of transparency so as to return adequate dividends to its over 200 million shareholders in Nigeria.
A company must have its accounts. And those accounts, for NNPC, as you may be aware, in the last 43 days, nobody ever knew about the accounts of this company. We're always scared of making it known to the shareholders. We did it for 2018. We are ready with the 2019 accounts. And going forward, this company will transit to a company that will be a net positive. Probably that's why we are scared. We're not afraid of putting that on the table. We have gotten very good feedback from our shareholders, and that we're taking on board. So the combination of this situation and the perspective that we're seeing today is making us to do things differently.
According to him, in the last 30 to 40 years, the NNPC has provided enormous resources from oil, but maintained that under the Muhammadu Buhari government, the political interference that bedeviled the corporation in the past no longer exists. He added that with the current spirit of accountability pervading the corporation, the NNPC was set to survive the next 30-40 years and transform the country's economic story.
A leadership that is driven by a consensus that this company must change, and this company must deliver value to its shareholders. And those shareholders are enormous, including you, and they expect so much from us. And because that freedom is there, we have a very active board that the corporation today has, a very, very informed board that we have today. And the combination of this with the overall leadership that doesn't interfere with what we are doing, has made it possible for us to do many things we are doing. And we're seeing the results.
He said his leadership of the National Oil Company had the rare advantage of independence, insisting that the NNPC can now drive its own growth with the current board of directors.
In line with its commitments to the transparency, accountability, and performance excellence TIP agenda, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has announced that 40 firms submitted bids to provide services to the corporation as financial consultants. This was disclosed at a virtual public opening of bids anchored by the Supply Chain Management Division of the corporation. The Group General Manager, Supply Chain Management, Mrs. Aisha Katagum, said that the public bid opening event was sequel to the call for bids, which was duly advertised in local and international media, with interested companies submitting their bids through the procurement portal of the Nigerian Petroleum Exchange, NIPEX.
We have to entrench transparency, fairness, accountability, and efficiency, which is, you can see the efficiency part. It was done through NIPEX electronically. Everything went on very well.
Explaining the rationale behind the corporation's move to secure the services of financial consultants, the Group General Manager, NNPC Finance Division, Mrs. Rose Eshet, said it was part of NNPC's next level initiative to have a pool of experts who could help advise on ways to secure alternative funding for the corporation's numerous capital-intensive projects.
What we are trying to do is to get a pool of financial advisors who will help us look for external financing for most of the NNPC projects. As you are well aware, NNPC is into a lot of external financing for most of our projects, like the AKK projects, the Port Harcourt refinery rehabilitation, the Warri and Kaduna rehabilitation, even the pipeline and storage rehabilitation. We are looking for financiers. These are the people we are trying to shortlist and put into the pool. So that at any point in time, NNPC needs such service, we go to the pool, bring them out and ask them to bid for the job.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has commiserated with the government and people of Lagos State, and particularly the residents of Barowa area, on the gas plant fire incident that ravaged the community in the early hours of Thursday. A press release by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Dr. Kenny Obateru, stated that NNPC feels particularly sad at the loss of lives and property caused by the incident barely a few weeks after a similar incident at Iju-Ishaga area of the state. It assured that though NNPC's pipelines were not anywhere close to the location of the incident, the corporation swiftly mobilized its health, safety and environment team in collaboration with other relevant agencies of Lagos State government and ensured that the situation was promptly brought under control. It called on operators of gas plants and other petroleum products facilities in the country to ensure strict adherence to safety rules and regulations to avoid incidents of this nature and the unnecessary loss of lives and property.
Behind screams and tears of pain in some communities, there is a terrible act of pipeline vandalism which causes fire outbreak and takes innocent lives. Pipeline vandalism also pollutes our waters and the fish we eat. Please join us to save lives and stop this crime. Warn or report those who vandalize our pipelines. The law will deal with them. NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello, glad to have you join us on the feedback segment of the program. My name is Julia Auta. Nigeria, as an oil-producing nation, clocked the diamond age on 1st October, 16 days after the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, celebrated our 60th anniversary. As a member of OPEC since July 1971, the roving camera is out to find out from Nigerians how the country has benefited from being a member of the organization 49 years after.
Because OPEC controls the price, a lot of policies that they bring out help to bring stability or control the price of crude oil in the international markets. That way it benefits Nigeria because what Nigeria really needs is stability in the price of crude.
Nigeria, being one of the members of OPEC, join hands with people like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the host of others to determine what content is needed in the international market and how will they mop up the oil in the international market in order to ensure that the dollar or the oil benchmark rise.
OPEC, being the producer of 40% of the world oil output, and OPEC member countries have 80% of proven reserve of crude. They came together for policy formulation that will benefit their countries in terms of output and by extension in terms of their revenue.
Our production capacity has actually increased. We've been producing more than we were producing before we joined OPEC. And if you ask me, economically, that's something great for us. That's something we can actually latch upon as a country.
Nigeria is slightly enjoying a lot in the stability of oil price because that helps our revenue. And also in terms of policy, Nigeria benefits a lot from OPEC.
Over the years, You have seen Nigerian oil ministers, Minister of Petroleum, being secretary or heading the OPEC. And that is our productive capacity that earns us such position.
Nigeria has indeed benefited from its membership of OPEC through unification of petroleum policies, stabilization of oil markets, regular supply of petroleum to consumers, steady income to the economy, and a fair return on capital for those investing in the petroleum industry. And that's the much time will allow us on this segment. Please stick around for the other segments of the program.
Hello, welcome to this segment of the program. My name is Faith Ayuba. Did you know that with increased focus on sustainable development and the need to eliminate the waste of valuable resources, government has embarked on some key gas utilization projects? The key gas utilization projects include the Ajakuta Kaduna Kano AKK gas pipeline project, Obiafu, Obricom, Obem, OB3 gas pipeline project, West African gas pipeline project, and Nigeria liquefied natural gas NLNG project. Did you also know that some uses of natural gas include electricity generation, fuel for vehicles, chemical feedstock in plastic manufacturing, fertilizer production, cooking and heating? Now you know. Please don't go away.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices rose as oil workers evacuated rigs in the United States Gulf of Mexico ahead of Hurricane Delta, though fuel demand concerns persisted on fading chances for a United States economic stimulus deal and after a build in United States crude inventories. Brent crude futures rose 31 cents or 0.74% to $42.30 per barrel after falling 1.6% during the week. United States West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures rose 27 cents or 0.68% to $40.22 per barrel after falling 1.8% during the week as well. With Hurricane Delta forecast to intensify into a Category 3 storm with winds of up to 120 miles per hour, oil producers such as Chevron Corporation have evacuated 183 offshore facilities and halted nearly 1.5 million barrels per day of oil output. Meanwhile, Market Intelligence Department of NNPC's London office reports that the oil futures jumped for a second straight session alongside equities as risk sentiment strengthened. Some of the factors driving the gains are acute and involve the weather, but more structural elements are at play as well. Oil traders say prices have been bouncing up this week after they triggered a technical buy signal recently. There is also an aversion to being short oil over December, which is now the prompt contract for global benchmark ICE Brent. That dynamic is especially pronounced now as fundamentals show a global deficit and balances suggest that continued organization of the petroleum exporting countries OPEC Plus cuts will put higher floors under the price. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Owigo Okolo.
That's been all on Gas Forum at this edition. Thanks for joining us. We hope you found it very informative and delightsome. Have yourself a jolly good week. Bye.